Hi everyone, I hope you're doing great. So in this video, we will gonna talk about the film of Raider of the Sulu Sea. By the way, I am Maylin Barredo Tumampos, the first presenter of this group. Before we will dig deeper and analyzing the documentary film, we will have first a short content or a summarization about the readers of the Sulu Sea. So the readers of the Sulu Sea, a historiography documentary film focusing on Zamboanga City by depicting how the Spaniards defend the city with Fort Pilar on Spain's last stronghold and bastions of defense, and economic expansion in the south of the Philippines. Raiders of the Sulu Sea is a documentary film. And now let's analyze the background of the author or the producer of this film. It is a documentary film produced by the Oak Tree Film. Oak Tree Film was established during 1996. It was founded by Zaharit Bano Kodole, the CEO, along with Lim Suwat Yen, the COO, and Jason Lai, director of the content. So the Oak Tree Film was established on Singapore for Q Channel, Discovery Channel, National Geographic for international release. The Oak Tree Film is a Singapore leading house in independent and local productions. Their productions are across multiple platforms like documentary, educational films, and more. The documentary films of Raider of the Sulu Sea, it has a 48 minutes and 43 seconds duration time. It was directed by Edswan Othman and it was published by Looking Glass International 2013 at Victoria, Australia. It is a product of a co-production agreement Media Authority of Singapore and Korea Broadcasting Commission. It was first released on 2007 for Q Channel, Korea, and it was distributed internationally by Looking Glass International, the Discovery Channel, and History Channel for Asian and 2008. Focuses on the slave raiding as retaliation on colonizers, the sophisticated ancient maritime vessels such as Lanong, Garay, and the Salib Sipan, and the tools of war such as Barong, Kris, and the Campiland, and the well-organized forces that is launched for slave raiding the coast of Mindanao, Visayas, and Luzon between July to October, called as the pirate wind or pirate monsoon. It is also focused on the fate It is also focused on the fate of the captured Balangingi leader called Panglima Taupan and his family, who eventually was exiled to the north of Luzon in Cagayan and was made to work in tobacco plantation in his outskirts of Talucasanay with the surname De La Cruz Nono Maas Nono, the ancestor of the present Nono clan of Zamboanga. Art historian Isel Gloria de Borja Estrada, together with Dr. Samuel Tan and Margarita Cuanco and other international Asian historians, contributed to the success of this film.
Isel Gloria B. Estrada, she is one of the Zamboanga City's premier artists, a true Filipina painter and sculptor. She is currently working as an executive assistant in the office of the city mayor. She also writes a weekly arts column. Botoan on 1977. Our ancient warship was 3 times faster than the Spanish galleon.
Hi, my name is JV Heini Anditino, and this time I will be discussing to you the important contribution of the Raiders of the Sulu Sea and the relevance of this documentary film in this present generation. First is, there is a gap between Christian and Muslim still exists even in contemporary times. Throughout the nearly 15 centuries of Muslim-Christian encounter, individuals adherents of both tradition often have lived peaceably with each other. At the same time, Muslim expansions into Christian territories and Christian imperialisms in Muslim land have fostered fear and ill will on both sides. Real precautions from the Crusades continue to resound in the contemporary rhetoric employed by defenders of both faiths. Documentary shows the Moros' resistance against Spanish and American colonization in southern Philippines. Also, the documentary film emphasized a positive cultural practices because despite of the film talking about the slave raiding, the battle between the raiders and colonizers is not just about slavery, but also about religion. They weren't just fighting for personal gain, but they are fighting for their freedom and their land. Also, it affirms and brings to popular consciousness the aftermath of the Moro Wars. On 1985, Warren said that it overlooks the plight of the captives and slaves under the study who partially contributed to the birth of a Creole language, which is the Chavacano. Also, it reveals the disunity of the Moros as evidenced in the 720 siege. According to Anderson on 1983, it antedates the separatist movements in contemporary times, which is the imagined community. So today, as in the past, the armed conflict in southern Philippines can be viewed from different perspectives. One, it can be viewed as political because the Moro struggle for self-determination. Number two, it could also be viewed as economic perspective because the freedom and the right of the Moros to exploit natural resources. It could also be cultural perspectives because it is where the revival of indigenous arts and trade happened. And lastly, social perspectives because it is the tolerance and respect of religious differences. So definitely there is a need to address the Muslim Filipino community's struggle for self-determination and autonomy within the context of Philippine national sovereignty. Another thing is, territorial disputes and power imbalance are still evident nowadays, even with the presence of diplomatic organizations such as United Nations. When it comes to territorial dispute across the globe, the list is long and ever-changing. There are now more than 150 disputes underway that involve territory mostly in Africa, in Asia, and the Pacific region, but also in Europe and the Americas. As the United Nations exists as a way toward resisting any argument among countries regardless of territory and provide peacekeeping activations. The interest of the colonizers about power and authority is the only evidence that territory disputes still exist. In the documentary film, it shows or represents the desires of the Muslim to create a change. In addition to that, the film shows that the root of the misunderstandings of the Muslims and the Spanish colonizers that time is, of course, the clash of culture and the difference in religion. Because as what we see, Muslims doesn't really focus on economical sides, but rather what Muslims don't want most is the attempt of the Spanish colonizers to change their culture by introducing Christianity. Therefore, throughout the 3.5 centuries of conflicts between the Spanish and the populations of the southern Philippines, maritime raiding played a key role not only for the accumulation of wealth and slaves, but also as a means of warfare and anti-colonial resistance.
Hi everyone, this is Romelyn Lumbayan Ambalit, and today I am going to discuss the analysis of some important information found on the documentary film The Raiders of Sulu. When the Spaniards colonized Zamboanga in 16th century, because of its geographic advantage that made it valuable to the Catholic Spaniards, there were 3 tribes from the southern Philippines who tried to resist the rules of Spanish colonizers. First one was the Ilanon, who also known as Afirs in marine forests and Sultanate. They were very important tribe in the piracy history. The Ilanon raided not only the coastal Philippines but also far out into the South China Sea. They were an excellent in maritime activity as they are traditionally sailors and pirates. The second tribe would be the Samal Balangingi. They are an expert slaving group, also known as Northern Sama or Northern Sindama, that originally inhabited the Tangkil Island group. They were located in Zamboanga Peninsula coast and island as a result of 1848 military campaign. The third and last tribe would probably be the Tausug tribe, who controlled the Sulu Sultanate. They were known for its fierce and widespread political powers. How the raiders of Sulu became so powerful? As maritime raiding in the Philippines predated by the first Spanish incursions in the region is the 16th century but was aggregated by the protracted conflict between the Spanish colonizers and the Muslims of the southern Philippines from 1565 to 1898, as well as by the regions integrated into the commercial systems of the early modern period and the influx of European firearms to the region. Throughout the 3.5 centuries of conflict between the Spanish and the populations of the southern Philippines, maritime raiding played a key role not only for the accumulation of wealth and slaves, but also as a means of warfare and anti-colonial resistance. So now, based on the documentary film, there are 2 reasons why the raiders attacked the Sulu Sea region, and these 2 are the social and economic. First, for the social well-being of the raiders, the reason behind it is to prevent the spread of Christianity and strengthen the influence of Islam. And for the second one is the economic. It is to continue to control the trade market and survive off the goods and the slaves that they are able to obtain. Retaliation against the foreign occupiers. The film talked about the slave raiding of these tribes as they retaliated and fought against the colonizers. I have learned that the 4th pillar was built by the Spaniards to discourage some potential invaders, and this fort was based off operations to check on slave raidings to the fort and coming back. It's very amazing how the tribes initially took over the fort as they really had to surpass the Spanish presence as the slaves raiding became more rampant when the Spaniard came. The film is not only amusing to learn, but it is also an eye-opener to see how the war really started out along with the thoughts of possible being a Moro if the tribes had won. Despite of this not really ending well, it is still a story of our own that showed how the Filipino people have always fought for their freedom. Leaders of the Sulu Sea tells us how Spaniards defended the city with the fourth pillar as Spain's last stronghold and bastion of defense and economic expansion in the south of the Philippines. It depicts the Southeast Asians flourishing free trading in the area and the adverse effects and repercussions when Europeans such as the English, Dutch, and Spanish who wanted to control the economy as well to colonize and Christianize.